Hello, my name is Gary Young, and I work in the research unit of the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism. Today it is my pleasure to share with you the results of the 2008 Visitor Expenditure Survey. This survey represents a groundbreaking effort at greatly expanding the kinds of information that we collect at the Ministry to assist us in the many objectives that we carry out for the government of the Bahamas. We, in this case, are looking at the expenditures of stopover visitors. A stopover visitor is somebody who comes to this country and stays at least once. First, let me tell you where our unit fits within the purpose and mission and structure of the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism. The purpose of the Ministry of Tourism is to identify and attract the kinds of visitors who can significantly enrich the people and the economy of the Bahamas and deliver to them such delightful experience that when they get back home, they are compelled to tell their friends and relatives that it is better in the Bahamas. The Research and Statistic Unit focuses on two key areas in this statement as the charge for its existence. It focuses on identify and enrich the people and the economy of the Bahamas. We are attempting to identify in our surveys satisfaction. That's important because it indirectly enriches and certainly identifies how to make it better. And we also, for the purpose of this survey, focus on directly identifying the spending, because we all know spending directly enriches the economy and the people of the Bahamas. We certainly have collected expenditure information before, but what we wanted to do is to improve this survey instrument for a number of reasons to get better information. The old exit survey just had too many objectives. We asked too many questions and in too many different places. So we decided to split it up into different surveys and in some cases bring together the stopovers that we asked the questions of into one survey. For example, we at one point did an airline survey, an exit survey on the airlines, one on the marinas, and one on the Discovery Cruise. We combined all those stopovers into one survey. Also, the way people bought vacations changed. We removed prepaid packages as a focus for collecting data because people simply didn't buy prepaid packages anymore. They were buying on the internet directly, the airline, the airfare, and their hotel room. Also, our 3 field trials taught us that using this concept just led to poor responses on the part of the people we were trying to interview. Since the old survey was developed in the 1980s, a whole new era has come where there are complete new different kinds of accommodations people can purchase. You have people who come and are staying in their own villa or staying in their own private home, vacation homes. You have people who come and rent actually Bahamians' places in order to stay in those as a rental property, a summer vacation, if you will. You have more traditional EP properties actually being developed with the investment of people who actually will own a room or a villa within that hotel themselves, and so therefore have participated in the building of that hotel or in the investment required. You have the development, of course, particularly in this region, of the all-inclusive accommodation. And you have marinas and people who just simply come in a boat and moor offshore. So you have this whole new variety of available accommodations that just wasn't reflected in our past surveys. We also wanted greater detail on what it was people were spending their money on. And in this new instrument, we went from 8 categories in the original old survey to 68 categories. I want to now take you through to show you some of those changes in the old versus the new survey. If you did purchase a prepaid package, the first thing we did in the old survey was to identify exactly what it is you included in that package, whether it was just airfare and accommodation, or airfare, accommodation, or car rental, or some combination of the categories that you see before you. We also asked you how much you spent on that package for yourself as well as everybody else who traveled with you. We then asked people what they spent their money on, whether they spent it on accommodation, on meals and drinks, on local transportation such as taxis or jitneys, or actually rented a bike, or on a surrey. Also the kinds of inter-island transportation they may have taken, like the bohengi or the mailboat. We also asked them what they spent on casinos, the money they played in casinos. Also shopping, sporting activities, and any other expenditures that might be missing from one of those categories I just indicated above. And then we asked them for their estimation of their total expenditure, and then how many people that this expenditure was related to. And from that we got
the party size or the expenditure party. Now, how does that compare to the new survey? So what you just saw is everything that we asked on expenditure in the old survey. Not much. 6 categories is all we asked. In this new survey, we greatly expanded to the over 60, as I mentioned before. Let's take a look now at what we expanded it to. As you can see, in the first thing, we did a much more in-depth probing into what they spent money on and what kind of accommodation they were staying in. So you'll see here now we asked the name of the hotel or the temporary rented villa or condo or whatever, recognizing the fact that some people now actually own their own villa, condo, or timeshare. We asked specifically where that was, what the name of the condo or the hotel was, the number of nights they stayed, the number of rooms or suites they occupied, and the amount that was spent in that place in terms of staying. And then we asked them if they included meals in that purchases, and that recognized specifically the all-inclusive package. And you can see, then we asked for the people who stayed in their own condominiums, what kind of unit they were staying in, whether it was a condominium or timeshare, a residential unit, or their own private home or apartment. In this case, we asked for the establishment in one area, and we asked for the name of the island in the other, and the number of nights, and the amount of money that was spent in this area. We asked for the marina, the number of nights, the marina they stayed in, the usual number of slips that they purchased, the amount was spent on this. We always ask them if they were unsure to give us an estimation of what they spent. This is, by the way, these estimations are for their whole trip. And then other places of stay we went after were places like friends or relatives, temporary rented homes or apartments, that's the rental properties, a dormitory in some cases for places like in Eleuthera, and other types of places to stay that you can think of. And we asked the island, the number of nights, and what they spent. We then asked questions about what they spent on eating, outside of what they included already in their hotel bill. That is, what they spent as part of their purchase of the hotel room. And this would cover perhaps expenditures on the hotel property that wasn't included in their original booking of the hotel. But more importantly, it also indicated where they spent money elsewhere off the property. So we got an amount on the property, hotel property, and away from the hotel property as an overall number. We then ask a question on popular activities. Those are the things which tourists have indicated they like doing the most in the Bahamas in terms of nature, sightseeing, museums, entertainment, day or cruise visitor, golfing, etc. We ask them whether they participate in that activity, and we ask also whether that was a part of the cost of their original purchase of the accommodation. We don't want that being included, being stated again, because we already have that information, the original question about your accommodations. And we ask them to make an estimate of the amount of money that was spent. If they fail to fill in that space and have indicated they participated in that activity, then we actually fill in for them an average of what everybody said they spent on that activity. The next thing we look at are popular expenditures, the things that people spend the most money on when they visit the Bahamas. And we know all these things, such as straw work, linen, jewelry, Gucci bags, things of that nature. We again ask them, did you spend money on that? Yes or no? They answer. And then we ask how much they spent on that, specifically how much they spent on each of those items. Then we look at a series of questions or areas that people spend the money on usually when they're here in terms of transportation, particularly. We're looking and we see that there's jitney, we have automobile, scooters, we have ferry, boat rentals, other marina services. Many of these things, of course, were not identified in the old survey. They were just grouped together under transportation expenditures. But here we specifically get them for each kind of transportation you use. And you can also see there's other things for personal services, education, tuition, medical supplies, and dental purchases, miscellaneous, even legal services. We've left nothing untouched in this in terms of the possibilities of what people spend when they come here. And if we miss something, you also ask them to write it in and tell us what they spent. Here are some more instances of other purchases. Retail, of course, motor fuels, groceries, which is a big area for a lot of people who come here and don't tend to go to restaurants but go buy groceries and eat back in the hotel room. Reading materials. So you see a great deal of information that we're collecting. And